We have severe weather tonight in the lower Mississippi Valley. Weather's been pretty quiet in the east and probably will remain mostly the case into the weekend. However, there is a coastal storm in the southeast, and that's going to bring heavy mountain snows to the Appalachians. And that includes me, by the way. All that and more coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which, of course, is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue
West Babylon.
in southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area. And with winter slowly winding down, pretty soon it'll be spring. So if Omni didn't help you out in the wintertime, they'll help you out in the springtime because they've got mulch and topsoil and everything else. So head over to Omni and you can call them at 631-756-1125. Nowhere can you find better prices, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. And you said as winter's winding down. I don't even think winter got a chance to wind up.
Well, that's true. I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah, well.
What kind, I don't know, but I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah.
Hang on, I just got to get this out. There we go. And welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Cioffi, by the way. So he says Joseph Cioffi over there. Someone was complaining that they couldn't see my name. That's because I use a different source for my video, so the show can go smoothly, technically. And Joe Rayo is on the right. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to those of you who are lurking about in the background. And those of you who are new to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, we are on Monday through Thursdays at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time, Sundays at 11 a.m. And every once in a while, if there's a storm going on, Joe and I will pop up on a Friday or a Saturday. I'm already thinking ahead to Sunday, Joe, because I'm rooting for the European. If the European is right, let's just say if the European is half right, okay, I'll settle for half right, even a quarter right. This would be during the day on Sunday. I'm going to show the Europeans 12Z snowfall forecast map for the system that is going to form off the southeast coast. I'm not going to take myself off the screen because I really don't need to. You can see where the snow is. And at the southern edge of that, Joe, that 9.4 print is where I live. So it's giving, yes, it's giving 8 inches plus to northeasternmost Georgia, right along the North Carolina, Tennessee triple point there. And some big snow amounts up the southern and central Appalachians. And for some reason, it's also got a strip of a coating to an inch of wet snow about I don't know, 30 miles wide maybe, cutting across southeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, just north of New York City, into Connecticut. I don't know about that part of the fantasy, but the better part of the fantasy is what's going on in the South. Yeah,
I mean, if we do get if we do get snow, it's going to be very wet snow. The thicknesses on average, and this would be for 0Z Monday or 7 p.m. Sunday evening. The thicknesses across the tri-state area on average would be about 547. Now, yeah, you can make snow at 547, but you would help to have a nice high pressure zone situated north or northeast of you, and there ain't any.
No. Well, this is all what the thing is. The Europeans' position of the upper, because this is all about the upper low and dynamic cooling. So the Europeans' position of the upper low is a little bit further northwest than the other models. So it just kind of suggests that you might get on the outside periphery of that dynamic cooling, and then it makes that little strip. I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous, but I'm more intrigued with what's going to go on, for the south, for the southern and central Appalachians, because the upper low is going to be very vigorous when it moves across southern Georgia. And I was looking at the 850 level, which is a little under 5,000 feet, And those temperatures get down to about -3, -4. So if there's intensity with the precip and that cold layer, because I don't live that far below 850, I'm about halfway up. I might do it here. I'm gotta keep my fingers crossed.
Well, you're right. You're going to need a lot of dynamic to cool the column to allow the precip to come down. And up here again, I'm saying to myself, well, how is that possible? The 540 line, which is what we base a lot of the snowfall forecasts on, the critical 540 line is way to the north. We're more closer to 546, 547, and I'm looking here 0Z on Monday. The 0850 line. The 0850 line is all the way up near the Adirondacks.
Yeah, it just seems
So
it just seems a little far fetched that with what the European did. I'm taking those snow amounts with a grain of salt. That's why I said at the very least you got to cut them in half, maybe even cut them by 3/4. But the middle run of the European is out. It only goes out to Sunday morning, so the bulk of this is Sunday afternoon. It already gave 2.5 inches to me by Sunday morning sunup. So look, if it happens, I can take the laptop out on the deck and we could do we'll do the show live on Sunday and you could see the big white flakes falling behind me in the background.
I
I wish I could take it
think
up
it's
to
going
the mountaintop, but there's no signal up there.
to go up there. Well, we're reporting from Brasstown Balls, and
Singular.
oh dear,
Brasstown bald.
bald,
Bald, not balls.
bald.
Bald.
Right, right.
Okay, just so you know. We
Okay.
have to be careful here. It's a family show.
No, but it's not. It's not BALL. It's BALD, right?
Yes.
Right.
Brasstown bald.
Right.
So anyhow, I'm trying to figure all this out today. It was just a bit of a struggle because the other models are not nearly as bullish. The GFS for the last couple of days, yesterday for 2 runs in a row, gave me 8 or 9 inches, and then of course the next 3 runs that followed gave nothing. So
Yeah.
I want to see what happens tonight and tomorrow because again, it's all about the upper low and the right track. In the meantime, it doesn't look like there's going to be much of anything going on with the weather in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, which includes your neck of the woods in the Hudson Valley, which includes Long Island, of course, all of New Jersey, Connecticut, and up into the Catskills. This system is going. This system tonight, which is producing severe weather in the lower Mississippi Valley, is going to go so far west, and the warm front's going to set up so far to your north. It looks like, I mean, unless there's a passing shower at some point late during tomorrow or tomorrow night, probably going to get next to nothing with the cold front coming through, and then the weather's probably going to be fairly dry there until maybe Sunday evening, if the coastal low clips could bring a grazing of rain Sunday night into Monday.
See, I can't understand why the good folks over at the National Weather Service in Upton did what they did for Sunday. They are calling for a chance of wet snow or rain in the morning, and then rain in the afternoon, and mainly cloudy skies. And I'm looking at the maps and I'm saying, where are they getting this? I mean, at least call for some sunshine, but they've got a chance of precipitation early in the day and during the afternoon and evening. I don't know why.
Is my timing wrong? Because I kind of looked at this and I thought it would be later in the day, or maybe even Sunday night into Monday morning.
Well, I said a chance for shower activity, maybe late Sunday or Sunday night, but I don't know where they're getting snow. They actually have a forecast for snow or rain in the morning, and then just rain in the afternoon, and mostly cloudy for Super Bowl Sunday.
And I'm looking at the GFS right. I mean, we'll bring it up on the screen a little later, but I'm looking at the GFS right now, and the radar presentation of the GFS Sunday morning. The northern shield of the rain is barely touching Cape May and southern Delaware, and this is on the new run. Actually, on the new run, the rain never gets much further north than that. But if I go back to the 12Z, just to go apples to apples, I mean, Sunday afternoon, there's, rain is up to about 195 in New Jersey, and by 0Z, it's just touching Long Island. And it doesn't have any. Where's that light? I thought I saw light. No, I guess I was just imagining it. Yeah. I mean, it barely gets the rain. It's just barely right along the coast. Central and South Jersey, Southeast PA, yeah, there's some, heavier rain there. And also into southeastern New England, but it doesn't look like much that gets any further north than, say, Long Island, if that's on that particular run. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, I'm excited, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, shall we?
Surely.
All right, let's start off. Let's start off with tonight's watches and warnings because we actually have a few. And it's actually a busy night tonight. Now I'm going to get myself out of the way. A busy night tonight in the lower Mississippi Valley. We've got a working tornado watch covering southeastern Arkansas, almost the whole state of Louisiana except the northwest and the southeast, the far southeast, and a good chunk of the state of Mississippi. A lot of flash flood watches, a lot of flash flood warnings up earlier in parts of Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma, but those have come down for now. Now we've got flash flood watches up for western parts of Arkansas and southern Missouri. We've got wind advisories, northern Alabama, Mississippi, up through the Ohio Valley, high wind warnings across central Indiana and western Ohio. High wind warnings also for southwestern New York and north central New York. Winter weather advisories up for northern Vermont, New Hampshire, a couple of counties in upstate New York and northern Maine. Winter weather advisories in northern Michigan, southern Wisconsin, except the southeast. Small area of winter storm warnings in northeastern Iowa. And pretty quiet out in the west. So, again, not a major storm here, just a little disruptive, but a bit busy on the severe weather side. I'm going to bring up the satellite loop. A lot of lightning strikes going on, Joe. It looks like some solid weather here. Won't be surprised if a few tornadoes come out of this.
And you're not too far from that. I mean, with the progression. I mean, with the progression.
Well, that'll be here. That'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll be here tomorrow.
And I'm sure you'll be outside with your laptop.
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Not no. Tomorrow. You're not going to be doing that.
No, I don't do outdoor shows in thunderstorms.
Oh well.
Meanwhile, it's nice and clear in the east. We had a so-so day today. There were clouds in North Georgia up until mid-afternoon, and then it finally broke out for a little while. Even had a couple of drops of rain this morning. Did manage to get to 60. But you had a nice day up your way.
It was lovely, and the temperature got into the upper 40s. I think we might even have gone above 50. I didn't get a chance to look at the high temperature in our area today. And now that I've said that, Renata will get up and walk over to the console where the information about that. I hear her doing that already, right above me, and she'll either post it on the chat board or say on the website on the intercom what the high temperature was locally. But it was a lovely day out there today.
Did she say something?
The high was 50.
50. All right.
50. 50.
50. Okay. All right. Radar tonight.
But I will not pronounce as Justin Godnick, who I used to work with at News 12. He's now up in Boston.
I saw that. He threw in the towel.
Winter is done. Seeing buds on trees. Long range is, and he's got a little icon with fire next to it. So there you go. Another one who has given up on the winter of 2023. I'm going to have such a laugh, Joe, when we get that big snowstorm at the end of March, and it's snowing like the Beat the Band, and I'm going to laugh.
Well, look, unless it's a 30-incher, okay, which would be even funnier if you could get something like that. You get a 30-incher, and all of a sudden, statistically, you look at the year and say, "Oh, it was a normal snowfall year."
Yeah.
But unless you get the 30-incher. I mean, you basically go when an entire 90-day season. Actually, if you want to stretch it, potential for snow from say December first day, from the first week of December till about the middle of March is probably sort of the broad range where it's more likely to not get hardly anything in that stretch, and then to have something happen on the outside. I don't know. I find that kind of nasty.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
Well,
it it has been known to happen that we have had snowfall wait until literally the very end of the season, and this
yeah, it does.
this may
I
happen
know.
too.
I know.
You know,
A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in play right now at 7:50 Eastern time. One in that covers one parish in southeast Louisiana and one county in on the Mississippi side. And there's another one that popped up in southwestern Louisiana where there's a little bit of a snaky line that is forming and extends down into the Gulf of Mexico. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning up in northeastern Arkansas, but a lot of showers and downpours here and some heavy rain, some steady heavier rain moving into southern half of Illinois and Indiana. Also seeing some precip back into Kansas and Oklahoma. That's rain as well. And again, except for where we have those winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories, northeastern Iowa up into Wisconsin, and then further up into in northern Michigan, there's not going to be a whole lot of snow from this particular storm system. A little bit of activity going on in Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Some snow there. Also some Apache snow in the Dakotas. In fact, in Wyoming, the red box appeared and disappeared. Looks like they had a snow squall warning there up. I don't know what highway that is. Looks like 25, if I'm guessing correctly. And there is some rain coming into the Pacific Northwest. So on the surface map tonight, we've got a low in eastern Oklahoma. We have a warm front cutting across southern Arkansas into northwest Tennessee, and it becomes stationary through Kentucky and West Virginia, kind of snakes around down into eastern Virginia as a cold front. And there's a little high sitting in northwestern Pennsylvania, 40s and 50s in much of the Northeast, 60s and 70s, Joe, 70s. Where they had sunshine today down in Atlanta, got up into the middle 70s, and it was really beautiful uh, spring-like day here, and through much of the South with temperatures in the 70s. But I'm seeing here the dew points are starting to come up a bit. Low 40 dew points in the upper 40s and low 50s in Georgia and in South Carolina, and then you go into Alabama, but particularly in Mississippi and Louisiana, you got dew points there in the mid to upper 60s, and even a few 70-degree dew points that are showing up there. So that's there's your warm sector. There's your severe weather.
oh, is it my turn to say something?
Yeah, talk.
I mean, it's really. I mean, you're so complete in your logical explanations, Joe.
My explanations. Thank you.
That's not. There's not much for me to say. I mean, I wish that there was something on the maps that I can expound upon, but it's the same thing now every night, and will continue to be every night for a number of days to come.
And guess how many highs they have analyzed in the western part of the United States?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. Do you count that as a 7?
Seven.
Yeah,
And
7.
if you count the H that they got in Northwest Missouri, that's 8.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dear
isn't it?
me.
Where's it cold? Is it cold anywhere? Look at this. How sad is this as far as cold air is concerned? I'm looking at the temperatures, Joe, across southern Canada. Okay, you have to go. You have to go quite a ways north to near where the top of the map is just to get to temperatures in the single digits and then eventually below zero. I mean, there's no cold all across southern Canada. It's above freezing. I mean, there's a few places that are in the 20s, but more stations than not are at 32 or higher. That tells you the state of affairs here, as far as far as what it looks like across North America. And you know what? It ain't changing much.
That's what I just said. What's going to be happening in the next several days? It is just the same darn thing. I'm going to, as you're talking, I'm looking, trying to pick up if Dr. Cohen has said anything today to add to his feelings of frustration and futility.
Do you do you, I there's been really, if you, even though the patterns themselves are different, I'm going to come back full screen for a minute. Even though the pattern that we had from the end of December to the middle part of January is different than the pattern that we have now, because we had that fire hose, that Pacific fire hose jet for 3 weeks, 3+ weeks. We went basically from one terrible pattern to another terrible pattern, just a different type of terrible pattern. I don't remember. It's been a long time that I that I can. I'm trying to think back and I can't remember the last time we had such an unrelenting. I mean, it just doesn't stop. It's unrelenting. There's no break. It just locked in. And you had these basically two minor interruptions, one around Christmas, the one last week, and that's been it. I don't remember any. I can't remember the last time we had a winter where the pattern was locked in like the way it has been this winter.
And as Dr. Cohen writes, like all good soap operas, the latest episode of, quote, As the Polar Vortex Turns, keeps us guessing as to the plot, twists, and turns, and ends with a cliffhanger. In my opinion, he says, there are many more questions than answers as to how this will influence our weather. And so it goes. Even Dr. Cohen is stumped.
As I said, as I said yesterday, and I'll say it again today, there really isn't much to look ahead to for the next 2 weeks plus. That puts us to about February 24th. Okay.
Yep.
Which means that even if, let's say that a pattern change starts on February 25th, it's going to take a week to 10 days to kind of make its way through the whole atmosphere. That takes you roughly to March 9th or 10th. I mean, what is statistically, your chances are lower by a lot on a daily basis each day you move through the month of March. I mean, you literally are going to have something that's going to have to be absolutely perfect, I think. We may wind up, maybe I think there's a chance we're going to see a lot of cities set their all-time lowest snowfall totals in the coastal plain of the Northeast before this is all said and done. New York City may not get to an inch.
Well, that's what they were saying in the winter of 1997, 98. 0.5 inches for New York on the first day of spring. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later,
you keep going to that. I understand. I
know.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's play through the next 5 or 6 weeks, and then we can revisit that option if we have to. WPC, our friends at WPC, which they're glued to their phones right now watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show like they do every night at 7:35 right here on YouTube. They're actually, I'm kind of a little surprised. They I guess I have noticed that they tend to lean to the European more than the other models. And I mean, they've got a half to 3/4 of an inch of liquid, and this is all going to be for excuse me, for late Sunday into Monday. So they are bullish on this storm getting far enough north, at least into the coastal plain, to bring a decent amount of rain. You can see there's a ton of moisture from Delaware southward into the Carolinas, where you're talking about several inches or more. Now they've got the first front that they're going to be dealing with, so that's some of that is it's two systems more than one, but still ample precip here, and particularly as you go up to the northwest. I mean, the inch and a half liquid line, Joe, gets to is up to about me. So if I could get half of that as wet snow, I will be happy. 1.5 inches or more in the lower Mississippi Valley. Some of that is tonight, and some of that will come with the next system as it develops Friday into early Saturday. And we've got the precip up in the Pacific Northwest. 2 inches or more from WPC. Where would you go, Joe, in the Northeast to find 2 inches or more likely?
Probably Caribou, Maine.
Maine, yes, central and northern
Yes.
Maine, 80 to 100% probability of at least two. 50% line extends down into northern New Hampshire and Vermont.
And let me point out also on the chat board, James Davidson points out, let's not forget that the sun angle will be in place by March, and it's all over for you, snow lovers, I am sorry to say. Thank you. Thank you, James.
Yeah, that ain't exactly a breaking news headline, you know. Just so you know, James, that's not a, we kind of
You
know.
also want to know.
We kind of know that the sun angle increases every day as we go. This is not breaking news.
You also want to know how long did that snow last on the ground in 97, 98? Probably melted a day later. You're absolutely right. It did. It did melt. In fact, it took less than a day later. If I recall a New York Times article about it, it said that the snow, was greeted everybody that morning, and by afternoon it was all but gone. And also made the comment that most New Yorkers loved that type of snow. This time that, comes down, accumulates, makes a pretty scene early in the day, and is all gone by the afternoon. That was what it was like in 1997, 98. It was a Sunday, Joe, by the way. And if I recall correctly, if I'm correct on this, Rob Eisenson, who used to do the weekends on News 12 Westchester, I did weekdays. I think Rob called in sick that day.
Of course, naturally.
So I think I had to go in that afternoon, Sunday afternoon.
You just stirred a memory because I actually drove home in that heavy, and it was, it was a heavy, wet snow that fell, which made for not a lot of fun driving. And anyway, that's reliving the past. You could see the 2-inch pluses in 2 inches higher probabilities in eastern Iowa, through southern Wisconsin, and then the upper peninsula of Michigan. Not a whole lot in the west. Actually, rather quiet for the next 3 days. So this takes us into Saturday evening. By the way, I did notice this is Saturday. Look at that little brown. There's a 1 to 5% chance, Joe, in this little brown area here in western North Carolina, which is well west of Asheville on the.
At least they have brown.
They have something.
At this point in time, I'd be willing to take a brown for snow.
Now on the long range, yes, on the long range. So they've updated this. Bless their hearts. So this is the probability of at least a few. So let's call it 3 just to make life easy. The dark greens are 30 to 50%. So it's 10 to 30 from the southern part of southwestern North Carolina all the way up into western Virginia. Johnny Quest, you might be in line for this if you're on tonight on the board. I don't see you. The darker greens are indicating 30 to 50%. And then on Sunday into Monday, this is Saturday into Sunday. Sunday into Monday, they've got a fairly large area of 10 to 30 across western and central North Carolina and into central Virginia. Actually, not too far away from Richmond and pushing up toward Charlottesville. And they also have, Joe, look at this. I just noticed this. Look at this. Right here near Philadelphia. Near Philadelphia, they got a small area of 10 to 30. What what is this? What are we looking for? Thunderstorms here? I mean, it's just like these small areas, these little. I mean, this is how how awful it is when
We're living in the bizarro world.
It is. It really is. Cecilia Hernandez, I haven't checked what the local forecasts are doing here yet, but as soon as we're done with the maps, I'll give it a look. But I haven't seen what they're doing. So let's examine the upper air just to show you what's going on. So I'm going to switch off to the 500 Camilla and that is a wrapped up upper low. And it's deep enough where you have cold air aloft, and this is the GFS track. Actually, I'm going to use I'm going to look at the European instead. Let's look at the European, and there's the European's upper low, and it doesn't go out far enough. This is only out 63 hours, so let's go to the 12Z and take a look at that, and you'll see here. There it is in Louisiana. You don't often get, maybe in the springtime, sometimes you get these upper lows that are this far south, but it's a little bit unusual in the wintertime here. But that track of that upper low cuts across the state of Georgia in half. So anybody that's north of the track of the upper low, say 40 to 120 miles north in that zone, that's where you have the greatest likelihood of seeing some heavy wet snow out of this. And because it's so wrapped up, we're talking about a fair amount of cold air aloft. So if I pull up the 850, I was looking at the F-Gen today. I haven't looked at the F-Gen maps all winter long, but that's the cold pool Sunday morning that's being produced in the Appalachians. The lightest blue, so you know where the zero line is just that yellow, that brownish line that outlines the light blue. But I'm in the darker blues, so I'm more like closer to -5 at 850. It certainly is like at -4, -5 in the mountains in western North Carolina and in eastern Tennessee. So that's why these areas are getting a chance for some wet snow, elevation and the strength of the upper low. And meanwhile, if you look up your way, there's a little stripe of zero, Joe, that cuts across northern New Jersey and Long Island late Sunday afternoon, and then it's gone.
Back in early April, I think it was April the 4th, in 1987, there was actually a broad swath of snow that extended all the way down into Alabama and up into parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. April the 4th. Just, for all of you who are giving up right now here in early February. just pointing out these anomalies that have happened.
Well, this
18Z
GFS run was a little bit bizarre in some respects, and I'll get to that in a second. But so here's our low tonight. We should start seeing some snow on the northwest side developing in northern Missouri and in eastern Iowa during the early morning hours around daybreak as the low goes towards Chicago. Isobars are pretty tight across the Ohio Valley, which is why we've got those high wind warnings up in the large area of wind advisories. So the low sets up, as we said, the warm front tomorrow afternoon is cutting right across I-90, it looks like. So I don't see much of anything. Maybe a couple of showers nearby, but north and west of the coast.
And patches of fog, too.
And patches of fog. So that goes up into New England, where you got some ice and some snow going into New Hampshire and Maine. The low goes into Canada. Now, Friday could be still pretty warm. The real cold air, I mean, quote unquote, the cold air is back up in the western lakes, such as it is. So there's not a whole lot of cold air behind this. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a decent amount of sunshine with a west-northwest wind, that temperatures go up through the 50s and maybe even close to 60 in some places on Friday afternoon. Are we on the same page with that, or am I too high?
Yeah, well, I'm a little more conservative than you. I did say possible record temperatures for here in the lower Hudson Valley. The record at Westchester County Airport on Friday, a measly 55. I mean, we've had records in February that have gone up into the 60s and even the 70s, but just 55. That's all we have to do to tie the record, break it with 56. And that was set not too long ago, back in 2001. So, yeah, it's going to be a balmy day, a possible record-setting day, in many places around the tri-state area on Friday.
So we have super chat hits.
Yes, we did get a super chat hit from Johnny Quest, who said, "Yes, Joe, I'm always here at 3,500 foot elevation. It'll be interesting to see how much I will get."
Well, if you get enough moisture to move up your way, you might do pretty well since you're up at 3,500 feet. I can't see how you wouldn't do well out of this unless the precip shield is a little bit further to the east. So that'll be our battle to figure out tomorrow. Meanwhile, you see the front stalls out. You get some rain that develops Friday along the Carolinas. The energy drops down into Louisiana. You start to get a surface low that develops right along the South Carolina coast Saturday night. On the northwest side, you begin to see some snow breaking out Sunday morning. This particular GFS run didn't really do very much with it, and it kicks the low out to the east-northeast. It didn't even bring the rain up to New York City. The other run did, and I would probably lean toward more the other run's idea at the moment because that's where the European is. And after that goes out, now this is, I don't know why it did this, and I'm inclined not to believe it. But there's a low that comes out of Oklahoma later next week that runs up with some rain. But meanwhile, there's another stronger low coming out of Colorado with some rather decent snows for Colorado, but particularly northeast Wyoming, western South Dakota, and into North Dakota. It's got a wrapped up 86 low in southeastern North Dakota, so the isobars are about as tight as you can get. So if this verifies, this would be a blizzard for them. Well, that low goes out, and I don't know where this came from, but it's got a big high coming down next Friday, a 1048 high. And look how, I mean, it gets, not only does it get cold, Joe, but here's the way I'm looking at it. If it winds up producing, if the Sunday system winds up producing big snows in the southern Appalachians, that's one slap in the face for folks in the coastal, snow lovers in the coastal Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. Here's another one. Look at this. I don't know why it does this. It's got snow in New Orleans. It's got snow in Mobile on the Florida Panhandle. Light snow into Georgia, South and North Carolina. And it actually has a 510 thickness coming into New York. I don't understand why it did this. So I'm inclined not to believe it. And given the kind of, look at that, Joe. It's got snow at Wilmington, North Carolina, at Charleston, at Savannah. Can you imagine if this were right? The snow lovers in the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states will be committing harry-carry.
Imagine having more snow in the middle of February in New Orleans as opposed to New York. That would be that's something pretty amazing.
Yeah, again, I'm inclined not to believe it. And I don't know, this whole run to me looked a little bit bizarre. If we go back to the prior run, actually, I'll just pull up the upper air on this.
And Cecilia Hernandez, just to answer for Joe, I do believe it's 2,200 feet. Cecilia
Yes.
was asking Joe what your elevation is. I think you said 2,200.
I'm 2,200 feet. I'm not quite at the top of Cook Mountain. Okay, so I'm just looking at the upper air on this from this Dakota storm. If it's real, pulls down a deepish trough into the eastern part of the United States next weekend for President's Day weekend. Of course, what happens as quickly as the trough comes in, it pulls out. And then and you get ridging that builds back in. Then it's got another bizarre twist because it develops a cutoff low in southeast Georgia and drops it down into the Bahamas. I mean, I don't know. I mean, no. You get sometimes you get to where the models when they start doing silly stuff, you have to just walk away from it and just say it's all nonsense. So anyhow, back on the full screen. Let's
You remember when we used to have on the LFM, they would draw like a hurricane.
Yes.
That if all you look at, you'd be waiting for the run, and you get to like 36 hours and 48 hours, and all of a sudden there was like a hurricane over Texas, and you knew that you would see the statement, the discussion from the meteorological center. Please ignore
Yeah.
that, as if I was going to believe that, right? It's like it appears in March.
Don Colgan reminding me, and I just sent me a message on Facebook. 54 years ago today, Joe, was the anniversary of the Lindsay snowstorm. Is it today? Today's the 8th.
No, it's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Okay.
It's tomorrow.
So this is the Lindsay Storm Eve anniversary.
Yes.
When the forecasts for rain or snow changing to rain, we're all going out en masse.
I'm just looking here on Rob Friedewitz's website for something interesting. Well, here we go. 2013, on this date, an intense winter storm developed off the Delmarva Peninsula during the day, and by nightfall, near blizzard conditions were common in New York and points north and east. This is in 2013. An icy mix of light snow and wind-blown sleet began at daybreak, fell throughout the day, became steadier and heavier after dark. By midnight, 6.3 inches had fallen in Central Park. No, it's not. Come on now, folks on the chat board. Stop crying now as I read this. And by the time the snow ended shortly before daybreak on February 9th, 11.4 inches had piled up. However, the city's total was manageable compared to Suffolk County and New England, where accumulations of 2 to 2.5 feet were common. Today's 1.15 inches of liquid precipitation was a record for the date and was the first time that an inch or more of precip fell on this date, February the 8th. And that was back again in 2013. It was a Friday, by the way.
Yeah, that's the one I got 30 inches out of. That's my that's my favorite. That is my favorite snowstorm experience.
Right.
Which I will not relive tonight. Because I'm thinking about Sunday for me here. So anyway, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy tonight. So tonight, it is a list of 10, Joe. A list of 10. Okay, and the list is the states that have the 10 lowest snowfalls. Okay. These 10 states average the least amount of snow per year.
Okay. Miami is number one.
And the chat board, no, not the city, the state.
Oh, the state.
The state.
Okay.
The state.
All right.
So the chat board is going to play along. So, here we go. So, Mike Azera and Keith James have got number 1 and number 2, Joe. Hawaii is number 1, and Florida is number 2. Arizona is not on the list. Okay.
How about Louisiana?
Number 3 is Louisiana.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Louisiana. Okay, so we've got Hawaii, Florida, and Louisiana.
You don't want a contiguous state that protrudes too far north, because like Florida, for example, the reason why Florida is not number 1 is because of places like Jacksonville and Tallahassee.
Right.
They're far enough north.
Maggie P gets Arkansas, which is on the list at number 9. And Adam Lowe gets Alabama, which is number 4. And Northern Grace Joe got number 5, which is Mississippi. So we've got the first 5 states and the 9th state here. Hawaii, Florida, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and number 9, Arkansas. So we have 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. 6, 7, 8, and 10 Oregon, Keith James II is not on the list.
How about Texas?
Texas, Joe, is number 7. Number 7 is Texas.
See, Maggie P., we were right.
Okay. So now that leaves us with number 6, number 8, and number 10. There are 3 states left in this list. 3 states left. 3 states. Oklahoma is not on the list, nor is New Mexico, nor is Puerto Rico a state, John Charles. So they don't count in this survey. Kansas, Timothy Veltman is not on the list.
Boy, I tell you, I wouldn't say California because of the Sierra Nevadas.
California, yes, California, number 10.
So they are on the list.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, they are. So now that leaves number 6 and number 8. Number 6, South Carolina, Leon Pravinsky. South Carolina, Helen Bertona. That is correct, which leaves us one state, Joe. One state left.
Could it be Georgia?
Could it be? Might it be Georgia? Yes, it's Georgia. Georgia is number 6.
See, I was thinking about the northern part of Georgia and the western part of South Carolina, which sometimes can get a heck of a lot of snow, like what you're about to see in the next few days.
But geographically, though, those areas encompass a very, very small area, geography-wise, in the states.
Not much real estate, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is 2 hours south of me, only about 90 miles, but they're only at 800 feet, and it's so much warmer there. I mean, and of course with the mountains here, you have a much cloudier climate, and you got all sorts of weird things that happen. I think the reason why California is on the list, because if you X out the mountains, I mean, the Sierra Nevadas get a lot of snow, but the vast majority of the mountains do, but the vast majority of the state does not, particularly as you get closer to the coast. So I guess, I'd be curious to how they come up with the ranking. Do they use only major cities? Do they use, do they use something that reflects the entire geography of the state? I don't know.
Tim Bellman wrote on the chat board, this list is bogus if California is on the list. But I would agree with Joe. Just a skinny little slice of California, the Sierra Nevadas, they do get their fair share of snow, but
right. And the valleys get nothing. The valleys don't get much.
Yeah.
The valleys don't get much. Well, that is the list. That's what the list says. And this is according to the National Weather Service. So you'll have to take up your argument with them. I'd be curious again, like I said, how they come up with this. So anywho.
What did Lucy's mother say about Palm Springs during that episode when it was raining? Palm Springs,
the land of the something of sunshine, where the sun never sets.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
But she finishes that with, "Where's the sun?"
Yes, Catherine Card, the actress who played Mother McGillicuddy.
Right.
And on that note, I think we should say good night.
I think so. We will be back tomorrow, 7:35, for another round of, let's see how we can kill off 50 or 60 minutes with absolutely no material.
Yes. No, well, I might have. Well, let's hope that the European is right, because then I'll have something to talk about here. So we'll see you all tomorrow night. Thanks for being here tonight. Johnny Quest, thanks for the super chat hit. And nighty-night.
Nighty-night, folks. And we didn't hit 100 tonight, but we came close, 81.
Yeah, we'll try it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Will you draw a snow map for my area, Cecilia Hernandez? I thought about that today. I might just do that tomorrow. I'll see. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Night-night.